Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them, and I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that I have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. We are continuing our run on Uncanny X-Men. I have a playlist. I started from Classic X-Men #1, which covered Giant Size X-Men #1, and here we are. We're going to be doing two issues today. We're going to be doing 235 and 236. During this time, the X-Men were sold twice a month during the summer. So we're doing the two issues here. This is the start of the Genosha saga. So there's 4 issues total that start off, and so we'll be doing 2 today and 2 the next time. So here we go. Rick Leonardi is the guest penciler here, and he is the best guest penciler there is. I am so sad that Rick Leonardi never really got a huge push. He was so reliable, and I know he had Spider-Man 2099, but this dude was so solid. He had done his bones with oh my gosh, Cloak and Dagger, and he just Marvel never really pushed him, and that's a shame because this dude is so good. He's still alive. So P. Craig Russell is the guest inker for this. So welcome to Genosha, a green and pleasant land of hope and opportunity where the watchword is freedom, but that is not the case here. So real quick, we'll start with the credits. Chris Claremont writes. Rick Leonardi is the penciler. P. Craig Russell is the inks. Glynis Oliver and Tom Marzakowski are the supporting cast, colorist, and letterer, respectively. Bob Harras is the new editor. Tom DeFalco is the editor-in-chief. Bob Harras would eventually become editor-in-chief prior to Joe Quesada becoming editor-in-chief, and then Bob Harras would become editor-in-chief at DC Comics as well. So this dude he's the dad, and he's trying to save his baby from Genosha. And so he is being hunted and wants the baby to have a better life. So he is going to go into the airport and get him on this airplane. I think this is Qantas is the airline that is in Australia, and forgive me if I think it's Qantas. Anyway, so he's got the baby and says, "You're gonna be free," and so he gets out so that he can make sure he draws everybody away. So, all right, so they're shooting at the guy. Eventually, he's got superpowers. He's a mutant, and you can see that everybody here. But eventually, it's just too many people, and the baby is off. So, and he goes, "Both of us at last were free." So, they're like, "Hey, we stopped his trying to escape." So, all right, now. These guys here are going to go get the baby, and they're also going to get someone who had left before. So they're going to get Jennifer Ransom here. Now, these guys are mutants as well. They actually have powers, but they work for the Genoshans. And so at this time, the Genoshans were new. This is the first issue, so we're learning everything as we go along. But anyway, I think he's Pipeline. She's Punch Out. I don't know. There's others. So they are getting this mutant named Jennifer Ransom, sending her back to Genosha. So Madeline is actually flying them because she's a member of the auxiliary. And so she's flying them there. And of course, they get Jenny, who's the nurse, and they're like, hey, we're here to take you back. She's like, you can't do that. And Maddie throws sand in this guy's eyes. And we know that because it says so right there. But then there's a little bit of different coloring here. So Maddie is calling for help, but this punch out lady grabs the airplane and just throw it. And of course, it is still the 80s, so everything blows up. So of course, the airplane is going to blow up. And so she's like, hey, I'm a naturalized Australian citizen. You don't have the right. And they're like, hey, we only recognize Genoshan citizenship, and that's what you are. And you need to do your duty for the country. And so they're going to teleport her using like the modem to send her to Genosha. And so, and they're going to do the same to Madeline. So Rogue is now looking for Madeline as she finds the planes, but is not finding anything, and she's in contact with Psylocke. So Gateway opens the portal. He's actually wearing a shirt, and Storm and Wolverine are, why Storm is dressed practically like this is, I don't know. But anyway, here comes Wolverine and Storm. She's not even wearing her shoes. And so Wolverine's like, yeah, I can't even find dead bodies, nothing, the burned flesh. So she's like, he's a tracker, of course, and he's like, there's two men and a woman. And definitely he's grabbing something, so very CSI. And so the X-Men are now, the rest of the X-Men are using Madeline's equipment. This is Havoc, Dazzler, oh, this must be Psylocke here, and Longshot, and oh my goodness gracious, Colossus. And so they're trying to use the computer system to see if they can locate, and they found that there was this position here where they were. And so they're going to go get her. Storm is now wearing boots. The rest of the X-Men appear. Off they go. And so they're following the scent here. There's the airport, and it's going into a hospital. They make a brief thing that, you know, they can't have a fight there because of X-Men 221, which is where the X-Men fought the Marauders for the second time. And here's this punch out here. Of course, they're trying to get the baby, and Wolverine knows that she's one of them because of her scent, and they're going to start fighting, which they didn't want to do in the hospital, but hey. And so Wolverine gets in there and grabs this guy here, pulls out his claws, but this guy here gets help by having a Genoshan come. They call mutants gene jokes. That's the term instead of muties, although they do say muties as well. And so they're gonna bring in more reinforcements here, and so they come through, and you can see this. They're both hit and knocked out here. They call more reinforcements here. And so Psylocke says she's lost contact, and they've been attacked and unconscious. And Dazzler's like, who'd they run into? Hulk? So she says, hey, they're out there hunting us. And of course, Colossus is like, so what else is new? And you can see they're coming through here. And so now the X-Men are going to meet the Genoshans here. And so we're going to have a bit of a fight. This is a very action-packed issue, which is very good because Claremont adds a lot of drama to these stories. So it's nice to see once in a while that these issues are just what comic books should be. So, and of course, I love when Havoc is drawn with that thing. It's just so traditional. Everybody just continues. Havoc always gets his I don't know what you would call this, but always on the side here. He's very concerned about Maddie because he's starting to get feelings for her, and of course, Psylocke is like, my gosh, he's angry enough to kill, and so Storm here is wearing something else now, and wonders if this is the Australian government, but then why are they kidnapping? These guys are looking for X-Men, and of course, Peekaboo, I see you by long shot. These guys, who said that? And of course, here comes Colossus. We did. And so they're trying to get them. Here, this guy hits these grenades there, long shot, and Colossus get them. And of course, he takes out his knives here before this guy shoots. Longshot's powers are good luck, and as Colossus held them, the bombs blew up, so it didn't hurt anyone. And they're like, oh my gosh, these guys didn't even care who they hurt, and so they're like, hey, we gotta stop this, or they're just gonna keep doing this. So the X-Men, beautiful splash page, are about to end this fight. And so these are going to get away here. And they're going to take Rogue and Wolverine with them and send them back to Genosha. And the X-Men leaves them these people. And also realize that the X-Men left a calling card here. But also that the baby that had gone through that flight is gone. And so there we go. So next issue, Bustin' Loose, which is coming right up. Now, Marc Silvestri returns for this one. I think him and Leonardi just trade off issues because it's twice per month. So the next one, I believe, will be done by Leonardi. Great cover. A plus for this cover. It's a picture, and you can see these bullets here. I love the dry brush being employed. It's just really good. I think this is an A plus cover. So, Bustin' Loose is our title. The only difference is Marc Silvestri and Dan Green return, and then Petra Scotise is the colorist for this issue. So, all right. So, Rogue and Wolverine are going through. They're naked, and they are trying to get away. And, of course, the magistrates are trying to stop them. And so they're going to close this door thinking that they'll just need to wait for reinforcements, and suddenly snicked. So cool. All right. And they open it, or Wolverine cuts it through, Rogue pushes it through, and they are going to go through everyone. There's, of course, Maddie and Jenny, and of course they see them, and so they get them out. But these guys touch her, and of course they touch her flesh, which means she absorbs her psyches, but it kind of leaves her a little woozy. This guy here, who's kind of dressed like a priest, is Wipeout, and he's gonna take their powers. But here he calls him a Gestapo, and he says, hardly a Gestapo. Genosha is a free country. We magistrates enforce the law and know full well how to deal with the likes of you. So he zaps them, and of course they're like, that didn't work, I'm gonna get you. But as she tries to fly to him, she falls because her powers are gone. So Rogue is like, crap. All right. And so in Genosha, one of this alarm is going off here. And this is the Gene Engineer instead of engineer. Gene Engineer's kid. And so he answers the phone, and they want his dad. So he goes out, and his dad was already tending the garden, and they're saying, "Hey, something happened at the Citadel, and they need you." And of course, the engineer is like, "I'll never have a decent day uh, in the garden." So he's trying to tend it here. So they were going to go out and do something. They're coming to get the engineer. And of course, the kid's like, "That's all right. I'm used to it. We can talk later." All right. So the engineer is going to go. And this guy comes through. He's going to fix the garden and just says, "Fix it, will ya, boy?" So very condescending, and he's like, "Fix it good, boss. Fix good as new." And you can see he's got a serial number here. So for those of you familiar with Genosha, and oh my gosh, what was that Jim Lee? That'll come. They'll come up again, but they treat mutants very badly in Genosha. They basically created a society where the mutants are oppressed. So, um, and so the engineer was like, "Hey, how did this mess all happen?" And they're like, "I thought you said your team was really good." And they're like, "Hey, I told you from the start." This is the boss lady, that there are no guarantees in covert operation. They did the best they could, and those responsible are in custody. So the engineer says, "I want to look at them," and she says, "You can't." And he's like, "Whoever they are, they're invisible to our scanners. They can be seen with the naked eye, but no other way." So that explains why then the X-Men weren't seen by the when they were dealing with the Brood. And I said, "Oh my gosh, everybody would have seen that telecast because they were fight or taking on the Brood." And but nope. So all right, so the engineer applies, and he's being saluted by that lady. And so here's Wolverine, who's not doing very well because he doesn't have his healing factor, because remember, they took away his powers. And then there's Rogue, who's not doing very well. It says here that some of the officers took a few liberties when she was processed, but they've been disciplined and it won't happen again. And of course, he's like, "Hey, we don't do that. That's and so they do other things, but oh, that's where he draws the line. All right, so." And then they said they were coming for Maddie and that Jenny. So, all right. Um, back in Australia, the remember the three from the previous issue are still trying to make their way out or rescue some of the people that were taken. The X-Men are teleported there, and of course, she's like, finishes off Jean Joke, and of course, Storm doesn't like that word. And she says, "Well, that will make this more pleasant. I require information." He's like, "I won't talk." He says, "You won't have to. Psylocke, he's yours." So, of course, Psylocke takes possession of him, and they learn everything about Genoshans, how they built a society on the back of mutant slaves, and how they treat them. They're just numbers, but very similar to Nazi Germany. You can see extermination. It's essentially the same thing, which of course pisses Psylocke off and blasts them. Of course, Colossus like, "You're gonna kill them," which now he cares after he's Mr. Bloodthirsty Colossus. So it's just kind of funny. And so Psylocke is like, "Killing them would be too easy." And so they're gonna now go get the Rogue and Wolverine. So of course, these guys are gonna get out of here now. So all right, and so they're back at the Outback, and they are going to make brief explanations to the rest. And here goes everybody. Now, this confused me as a kid because to me, this came out of nowhere. So I just so Naster has been kind of showing up. Naster, I don't know. Nast, I don't know, Naster is, and so he sort of has made short appearances, but I have no idea what. And I know that this is leaning toward Inferno, so I knew that, or now so, and the Goblin Queen, but there's really no explanation as to how Sim and her, that previous issue where Sim and Barks, I think. But so are they saying, does after Sim infected her, does she seek him out? I mean, there's really no explanation, and for all the wordiness that Chris Claremont does, there's really not much as to how this happens. But he is trying to get a hold of Maddie, but it's not there. And he's like, Sim told me to get in touch with you regarding some special merchandise you're interested in, but since you're not here, I'll ring back later. Have a nice day. And now we're back in Genosha. This kid is the engineer's kid is running and jogging, and suddenly all these police officers and see the family of Jenny, and he's like, "Hey, why are you taking her? This is some mistake. I know these people. Mr. Ransom's a government minister." And this guy, of course, is gonna like, "Hey, are you sympathizer? Are you a mutie lover?" And then he's going to beat him up. He's like, "Hey, are you crazy?" And he's like, "Just giving this mutie lover a long overdue lesson." And of course, he's like, "You idiot! He's the engineer's son." And then he's all like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Nothing personal. We've got a job to do. No hard feelings. You need anything, just let me know. Hey, we'll pretend this never happened. Hey, I'll make it worth your while. Hey, kid, I was just following orders." As he goes away. So, all right. Here now, Rogue, of course, has been dealing with possibly being raped or violated in some kind of ways. So now she is feeling all of the psychic stuff that she has taken over the years. So Thor and Juggernaut, Loki, the Dire Wraith, a Nightcrawler, even the people that she just, all those personalities, the Thing is in here, Spiral, they're all in there kind of ready to fight her. But Miss Marvel, of course, the first one that she took, uh is going to help her, and Rogue is basically going to let her be in charge. And so she's going to help her cope with everything that's happened. And so suddenly Rogue opens her eyes. Now, the she's of course no longer Rogue, she's Miss Marvel. So here come those two that violated her, but Chris Claremont makes one of them a woman, so it was, whatever they did, perhaps, who knows. But all right, so they grab him, but because it's not no longer Rogue and Miss Marvel here, future Captain Marvel, she deals with these two and is going to take their uniforms. She goes and gets Wolverine, who's not doing very well, and recognizes Miss Marvel's voice. And so they're like, "Hey," she's like, "Let's go." And he's like, "Just leave me here. I'll just slow you down and let me just die." And she's like, "Nope, let's go." And so off they go. So they're going to go get Maddie and Jenny, but they're not in their cell. So, all right. The engineer's kid is realizing that his girlfriend is a mutant, and tells her dad, how'd you get her? And they're like, "I had her." And they're like, "This has to be a mistake." And the dad's like, "Nope, she tested gene positive." And so um and so she's like, "They were tested, they had passed." And she says her father uh switched office with another files, and then that girl died in another process. So he is responsible for the death of that other, and no one's above the law, and that Jenny has to serve. So, um, he's like, I know that sounds harsh, and so, but that's how we make our life here. And he's like, I love her, you can't. And engineer says, it's done. Um, During this time, Mark Silvestri was a little bit, and I know he's not inking himself, Dan Green is, but Mark Silvestri is sort of providing layouts. So the comic book at this time, the Mark Silvestri that we see now, becomes better at Wolverine. When he goes to Wolverine, he really becomes the Mark Silvestri then that goes to Image Comics. But for now, he's sort of a little loose. But you can see the ticky tacks and all the hatching that is being done. So, all right, here is Jenny and Maddie. And Nastir says, oh, there you are, milady. You're a difficult person to get a hold of. Oh, forgive me. Have I called an inconvenient time? And she just says later. And he's like, your slightest wish, my lady, is my command. And just blows the whole thing up. So, again, this is setting up Inferno, which will be the next major event. And so here are Wolverine and Rogue, and this guy's find them. And of course they start being dealt with here. Now, one of the things I said about Silvestri is the jawline. Silvestri draws with a very Joker-like jaw. He would, oh my gosh. He was born to draw. He did that Batman project last year. And my God, it's just, he was made to draw the Joker. So, all right. And so, Wolverine, you see he gets punched, and even though he doesn't have his mutant powers, the adamantium is not part of it. And of course, it hurts that ladies when they punches him, so they're trying to get away. But it is just becoming hard, but they eventually get in there. And of course, they let him know here that Wolverine will get his powers, that they're pros, and they'll adapt, they'll survive, and in the end, I guarantee we'll make these clowns regret they ever laid eyes on us. So next, Who's Human in 2 weeks. So here we go. 2 issues: Uncanny X-Men 235 and 236. Chris Claremont writes both. Rick Leonardi and P. Craig Russell's on 235. Marc Silvestri and Dan Green on 236. Like and subscribe. I do thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.